welcome back to the channel. It has been a little while since you last saw from me. The mullet has gotten a little longer. I grew a caterpillar across the face, but took a little break from the truck. It's getting a little burnt out. It is now October 2nd? Yes, October 2nd. I basically took all of September, just kind of a break. Had a road trip, a lot of fun, good time. Can't complain. But today's plan, I've made a list on my phone. I made a list on the phone of the rest of the truck. So the list that we had down here, the cardboard list, that one is no longer relevant, and I've made a new list. Okay, it's relevant, but I have things on here specifically to get the truck done. Those things are wire up rear brake lights, accessory lights, positive level, which I'll show you guys, fuel pump. Ooh, so I actually did the first job with this truck, and that first job was recovering Josiah in his dad's Tahoe. And Josiah was the guy who helped me construct the top of the boom, the Ginger. You guys saw him when the head got built. I think it was like episode 3 or 4. It was the boom one. Anyhow, he blew the transmission in his Tahoe. So we took the K20 out, went to go get him, and pulled him home. Pulled him like, I think 15 miles, and it did great. So 8,000-pound rig, pulled him up 2 hills, no problem. But the reason why the fuel pump got brought up in that situation was the fuel pump went out. So, fuel pump we need to get another one of. Reflective backing, I'm going to put across the whole back of the truck. The whole bumper basically is going to be a reflective rear end, so that way it's nice and bright and shiny. Paint truck with a question mark, because I don't know if we're going to get that done or not. Vinyl lettering, so we're going to have the company logo and phone numbers and all that stuff across the bodies. Batteries, obviously important. Wire up winches, harnesses, battery box, and trim front fenders. I took it out and played with it for a little bit. Didn't really record anything. It was just kind of wheeling the truck to see what it would do. And the front wheels eat the sliders real good. So we got to do something about that, because that is going to be a huge problem in the future. Sorry. Anyhow, right now's agenda, today's agenda is lights. So here's the deal. We got brake lights mounted and wired, or not wired, I'm sorry, they're mounted. We have a battery mounted. So there's 3 things for wiring. You have to have the accessory mounted, you have to have the batteries mounted, and you have to have the switches mounted. Okay, and then from there you just run all the wiring to it, because I make my own harnesses, because I'm a tweak like that. Okay, so I've got a battery mounted in the engine bay, that's no problem. And then we have switches, which we can mount, it's no problem as well. Most importantly though, we need to mount the lights so we know where they're at. So I have a couple things here. I've got this big boy right here, and I've had this guy for quite some time now. Never really used it on anything, but ironically, this fits the exact width of the headache rack, from stanchion tube to stanchion tube, perfect width. So this guy's gonna go in the headache rack. Then we've got 2 pod lights, spotlights. These guys, I'm thinking about putting them on a pivot. So they'll go on each end of the truck, on the very corners, right above the freight lead for the side winches. But I'm thinking about having these guys on a pivot so I can twist them, and obviously they angle up and down because of the bracket, but I can twist them left and right to allow, if we have to do a side job somewhere down a hill, we can just boop, boop, light, boom. Super amount of light going down the hill, no problem. These guys are kick-ass. So these 2 guys, they also have, oh, pardon me, that sneeze got me. We also have a amber bar. I don't know if I'm gonna use this or not. It's definitely older. It was black, but the anodizing got cooked by the sunlight and is no longer black. But anyhow, still a good light bar. It's got like 12 functions, and just some basic Amazon bar, nothing too crazy fancy, but it is nonetheless a good amber flashy light. So might use this, might not too sure. But we're gonna get right into it right about now. All right, so we've got the light bar mounted. It's on the back of the headache rack, because the winch line has to go through here and go over, if it does. So this can't be in the way. And I left a pretty big gap there. So the reason for that gap right there, keeping that light bar lower than flushing it to the top of the headache rack, is so that way it has a higher light, like the light has a higher, like a beam, I guess you'd call it. Beam is brighter. Not brighter. The beam has a wider range. If it was flush with the headache rack, then it would just have the light at the headache rack level and it wouldn't go any higher. Being lower, it has a little bit more like arch to it. Also, and more importantly, it leaves the opportunity for me to put something like this guy above it, which is less important. It's just a beacon light, like a hazard light. It's not going to give us working light, so it's not as important as the work light. Issue is this guy doesn't work. I hooked it up to a battery and nothing. So I was thinking about putting these lights right here and then have them on a pivot so they can twist and turn and do whatever they got to do. Of course, they can go up and down. And then I realized, what if I just take and put a light bar like right here across the bottom? Real clean, real sleek, just a single row. So I'm gonna take some measurements and do some Googling and see if there are lights that fit that void. So I found the exact same light bar as the one that's we just installed, but I found it in a smaller size. The gap on the sides is 14 inches. I found it in, let me zoom in here for you. Let me zoom in. I found it in 13.6. 13.6, the top measurement right there. 13 and a half. So I don't need the brackets. I'll make my own brackets. So those are gonna fit perfectly on the bottoms. So in the beginning of this video, I told you guys that I was gonna build a positive level. And you're probably like, what is a positive level? And I'm so glad you asked, and let me show you right now. So the positive level is this little guy right here. We have a positive bus bar going to a fuse block, then to a guide pin, back to a fuse block, back to a bus bar. So wires will come in through here, hot wires will come in through here. We'll curve around this guy to make it nice and neat. I'll go to the fuse block, and then from the fuse block, they will then go to the hot side. So hot wire goes to here, hot wire goes to there, fuse block, out and about. And that little piece of chain link there is just simply to kind of guide the wires in so they'll curve nice and neat and look really, really, really sexual. And then the positive, or no, that's the positive side. The negative side, which you guys may have already seen, if you haven't, here it is. This is gonna be the negative side. This is a ground block. So there's a bunch of holes drilled in here, already pre-drilled for rivets, and all the switches that go onto the center console will come down, boom, and they'll ground to the ground block. This is just for switches. From the accessory, like the light bar, the ground from that will go down and just land on the frame somewhere. So I'll probably do like a small little ground block like in the frame, kind of for everything in the back to go to, and a small ground block in the front for everything frontward to go to. This is all just for lights. This isn't for the winches. This is all just for accessory lights, and maybe if I run an air compressor, we'll have air. So I've got the ground block completely sanded smooth. All that like little hazy rust is gone. And the secret to keeping it looking spiffy and not having any like surface rust or even like anything sticking to it that is going to be harmful is oil. In this case, we're using Yamalube. The only thing it's good for. I'm a Honda guy. Anyhow, before the comments get lit up between Yamaha and Honda boys, just know it's only good for one thing, and that's lubing metal. Anyhow, you take some on a rag and you just wipe down the metal. Let me show you. You don't gotta go crazy. Look how spiffy that thing looks. You don't gotta go crazy. Just get a good film of oil, or oil, as the folks back east would say, on it. Just a nice film of oil all over this thing. The ground blocks will still, or the ground wires will still conduct to it, so you don't have to clean it off before you ground to it. And then we're gonna wipe it smooth and wipe it clean. All right, so to wire up accessories, you gotta have three things. You gotta have the accessory, you gotta have the switch, and you gotta have your power, okay? So we've got an accessory mounted, which is the light, and we'll have other lights as time goes on. We have the positive level and the negative level installed, as you guys saw. The next step is switches, okay? I've got these little chicken nuggets, and these guys are just little fancy, nothing crazy, right? But I was like, man, I don't want to just punch a bunch of holes in my aluminum center console willy-nilly, so I came up with this guy. And the idea here is I have a bunch of holes lined up. These are all 1 inch apart to kind of lay over my center console, so that way I could then mark it and I know exactly where each one's going to be at, perfectly spaced, and I don't gotta sit in a hot truck trying to figure it out. I can just boop, and done. And then I was like, is 1 inch too close? So then I mounted 3 of them at 1 inches apart, which is the exact same holes here. They're just mounted now, and I like it. It's not too bad. You can flip them, no problem. You can get to the back side, no problem. I can even take, pardon me, I sneezed again. You can even take a wrench and you can get into the back side of the center one, or the in-between one when there's a bunch of them, which is nice, and if one fails I can loosen it and still kind of get tools in there to use it. So it's just basically a ring on top, as you can see, and then there on the underside, I guess I can just do this, huh? Underside there is a crush washer and then a nut, just like I got a keeper nut. So yeah, not too shabby, but this is my template, 1 inch apart, 1 inch on center hole, and then that's the outcome of 1 inch apart. So we're gonna take the template, chop it down, and then make a bunch of holes in the center console. I'm a little scared, not gonna lie. Good morning. It is another beautiful day working in the shop on the world's greatest off-road wrecker. Greatest. Remember last weekend I told you guys I was gonna get some, well, last weekend for me, it was probably like 5 minutes for you. But I told you I was gonna get some light bars for the side because the pod lights that we're gonna twist weren't gonna look so good. So anyhow, those came in. Light bars. If I'm not mistaken, or if Google didn't lie to me, these should be 13 inches wide, and the tolerance that I have to work with is 14 inches. So this is just basically the, these are nice. This is just basically the baby version of the one that's on the back, right there. So nothing fancy. 13 inches wide, we have a tolerance of 14 inches. We also got more switches, a whole lot more switches. So I only have enough holes for 5 more, but I'm gonna put another rack across the bottom of 10 more. So I bought 3 packs, so we have 20 switches in the center console, which is a ton. I think these lights are gonna work. Let's take a look. Let's take a look here, folks. So Google said they were 13 inches wide. I say this is 14 inches wide. Oh, look at that. ½ inch either side. Boom, that is nice. So we have all 10 switches in on top. And then we have all the grounds in. So we ended up going into that second level. Getting the grounds on. They're all coming down the ground side. All of the reds. All the hot is on already. All of that is dropping down over there. Going into the fuse blocks. Here is it from the driver's side. So you have all the reds coming down from the switches, down to the chain loops, down, and then dropping into the fuse blocks and just kind of transferring over. So the wiring is done for now. Please stop right now. Drop down in the comments. Let me know how you feel about it. To me, I love it. I'm gonna let you know how I feel. For me, I think it's beautiful. It looks clean. Looks neat, it's organized. I know it's gonna work. So otherwise, it's pretty much locked and loaded. But let me know how you feel. It's important to me that you guys feel heard. So I think I may have showed this before, but if you're new to the channel or you're new to the build, I'll show you guys again, okay? So everything on this truck has been hand cut. I don't have a plasma, I don't have a flame table, I don't have a laser table, I don't have a water jet. I wish, I don't. So everything is hand cut, all the tabs, all the brackets on the axles, everything done. But the way we do that is something like this. So you take a piece of cardboard and you cut it out and you mount it to whatever you're going to be mounting. And then this guy fits right here. Nice and perfect. So it's sticking out a little bit forward, so it's under the fair lead. So the back is flush, which is the important part. And yeah, so I just kind of cut some tabs out of cardboard and they fit real nice and neat. And now I can take this template and put it on a piece of steel and cut it out by hand. But at least I'll know I'll have a perfect part. Take a look here, folks. We are flush with the weld on this side. We are flush with the weld on this side. We are flush in the back, so we have room for activities back here, won't be in the way. It's flush with the fair lead, so that's nice and clean. Alright, so there has been a minor skew in the plans here, okay? So, we're going to talk about paint for a moment here. Now, the back of the truck is going to be black, the cab is going to be neon green. The cab had two options, neon green or purple. The deciding factor was I'm not painting my Jeep purple, but I will paint my Miata neon green. So, neon green wins. Anyways, that's not a today thing, that's not a tomorrow thing, that's not even a right now problem. The problem is this bed is rusting and it's only gonna get worse, and I am not okay with that at all. So when I was welding up these lights here, I realized, because I was about to start wiring them, right? And I realized I have the chance right now, while nothing is wired, the winches aren't wired, lights aren't wired, the brake lights aren't wired, I can pull the chains off, I can pull the shocks out, I can pull the winches off, light bars off. I realized right now is a really good time to give this at least a light coat of black paint, keep the overall truck from rusting any worse than it already has, because it's only gonna get worse. And then down the road, when we actually go to paint this thing fully, then we can actually give it a real coat. But the bed will always be like spray paint. It's never gonna be nice, like actual like air gun paint, because I don't care about it that much. The bed is gonna get worked on hard and put through work. The cab will get air paint. That's gonna get painted by someone else. That's gonna get sent out to someone who actually knows what they're doing instead of me, because I do not know what I'm doing, especially when it comes to paint. I can rattle can anything, but you ask me to add a spray gun or an air gun to something, and that is out of the question. Not for me. So if you remember this guy right here, I want to say thank you. And if you remember this guy, I also want to say thank you, because this was the very beginning of this truck when I hung the back plate of this guy with this guy from that guy. And now we're going to use this guy and that guy to pick up that guy and remove those little puppies. But if you've been here from the beginning, I appreciate you. If you're just tuning in, well, you know what to do, because it's about to get rowdy. It has been a long time coming since we got this hitch receiver in here. Since the shocks were in, let me tell you, it has been a hell of a journey, to say the least. I have sacrificed so much for this truck. I forgot to put this back in. We've had some highs, we've had some lows, we've had everything in between. I have this cherry picker set on 2 ton at 4,000 pounds. I'm thinking it can probably pick the back of this truck up. I don't know. I added quite a lot of weight since the last time we've been here. I don't even know where the doohickey's at. The little jack handle. Oh. Huh. Alright, well, I heard the roof above me creaking, and that's because the boom is currently shoved into the framing rail right there. So that's a problem. We are not fully de-weighted. So let me get back to you. Well, I've got myself in quite the predicament here, because I cannot let the boom down because it'll hit the cherry picker and it won't go down low enough. but I can't use a cherry picker because the boom's hitting the beams. I can't push the truck out because once it's out and I clear the beam, then I won't be able to roll the truck back in because there'll be no suspension on it anymore. I guess it'll still roll, but I won't be able to. All right, plan solved, or problem solved, plan back in motion. We've got a jack stand on that, which then picked the boom up past the thing that we were hitting, the wood beam that we were hitting, past that. So now we can jack the truck up, and then when it comes back down, I will then be able to get the boom down. And the truck is still in the garage. So we're okay, back in business. All right, so I got one side off, which means I'm qualified for this side. I forgot how heavy these guys are. But the secret here is to pop off the bottom bolt first, which that one's tight. All right, so the shock is free. Now we just gotta pull this guy out here. Okay. For anyone who's wondering, these are 3.0s by 16s, and they're heavy as hell. I run into a problem. Problem is, I'm gonna use that jack stand to hold up the truck while I'm painting it, but the jack stand's currently holding up the boom. Golly. So here she is, completely naked. No brake lights, no shocks, no boxes, no nothing. Fairleads are gone, lights are gone, gone. It's all gone. Everything that comes off is off. Thank you guys for watching. I know it's been a minute. I'm sorry. I'm back on the grind, back on the truck. You guys know what's happening in the next one, because it ain't staying like this forever. So stay tuned, enjoy your night, have a good one.